Hey, it's getting dark in here, but I just had to tell you, I know a way out of the cave, Plato's cave. I know how to get out. You want to go? We are a part of nature as nature is a part of God. So when we meditate and we get quiet, there's a there are fields of potential. This potential has all the information of the entire cosmos in it, and it's available to you. But
I came back with an understanding and a knowledge that I had crossed over into another dimension. I was transformed.
just like a primitive human, if given a working internet and a computer, they wouldn't have the faintest idea of what it does, what its potential is, how to use it. It's just too far away from their experience at the moment. And that's the way 99% of everything you're going to encounter in these deep meditative states are. And try as you may, you'll get symbolic things. You'll get information in their entirety beyond language. A fully formed idea, thought, but it's beyond your experience. It's beyond what you can make sense out of in a lot of the situations. So you can come to these different levels of mind, and when you're at this barrier, the two will kind of bleed together, and the seeping ooziness of this information that's beyond your ability to sort out absorbs into some type of experience that you've had, that you've encountered, and you can symbolically use those experiences to relate to yourself what that fully formed idea is on the other side that has just oozed through, and you're making some sense out of it, which is more than I could say that I'm doing for this video. But hang with me, I'm going to try to explain myself. Thanks for showing up today, and let's have some fun. Okay, so in previous videos, I've been focusing on an area of things that we don't know and why we don't know them and how limited our capabilities are to understand things.
That space-time ceases to have any operational meaning. It becomes meaningless, and there's nothing, experimental that you could do that would have any meaning at that level.
Sure.
And the point of that is to kind of be the lubricant, the the WD-40 to your mind, so you can understand to yourself that there are possibilities that you probably haven't allowed in because it's too damn goofy. There's no way that kind of stuff could be real. It's too far away from your experience. And by trying to express that we don't know very much, when you understand you don't know very much, the world opens to you. And it's because you realize that you've been discounting everything because you thought you knew the truth. So, what are you to do? Believe everything? I think that would be a mistake. You got to have some structure in your thinking. You can't accept everything, and you can't discount everything. So we can know a certain amount, but the amount that we don't know is unlimited, infinite. How limited our capabilities are to understand things. And the point of that is to kind of be the lubricant, the WD-40 to your mind, so you can understand to yourself that there are possibilities that you probably haven't allowed in because it's too damn goofy. There's no way that kind of stuff could be real. It's too far away from your experience. And by trying to express that we don't know very much, when you understand you don't know very much, the world opens to you. And it's because you realize that you've been discounting everything because you thought you knew the truth. So, what are you to do? Believe everything? You can't accept everything, and you can't discount everything. You got to find that medium point for you. And, of course, my medium point is so-called left field right now. Because I've realized how many things, when I've tried to understand the world as a physicalist, that didn't make any sense at all. All these, monoliths all over the world, and all these claims of like UFO abductions and claims of ESP and all this stuff that you kind of have to completely discard with the physicalist thinking. They can't possibly be real. And when you realize that thinking is flawed, that it couldn't possibly be real because you know things, and you realize now that you don't know things, it opens that window of perception. And just like the person that is driving the car and watching the world be shoved underneath their car as the wheels push the world around, and the person on the street corner watching the car drive across the top of the surface of both are legitimately correct. So with these dual truths, which are really much more than dual, because there are unlimited amounts of perceptions to any particular item, any particular event. There are many truths. Your truth is going to be based on all your experiences in your life. Everything everybody's told you and everything you've ever seen on the news or TV or church or thought to be real, that creates the reality in your head. And that is a true reality for you. And we get into these arguments on what the truth is, like politics. You know, one side can't figure out why the other side is so stupid. Really, when they're both equally stupid, because they're stuck in this way of thinking that won't allow anything else in. That's reason to pause right there and just consider those thoughts. You know, we're going to have to get into meditation pretty soon, so I can help you open the door of perception. I think everybody needs that door cracked open to look through. You don't have to go all the way through the door. You can just crack it and peek out the other and see what's over there, and then make a decision. So I think that's something we ought to do pretty soon, because time's running out for all of us, for many different reasons. Okay. Quantum physics. It's the texture, the feeling, how it looks when you encounter the so-called veil. What I'm talking about is a barrier between this physical world and something much richer than this. So this so-called membrane, when we get to the smallest nitty-gritty of the physical world, we run into a field of potential. We go from large objects to molecules to atoms to quarks to quantum fields, a field of potential, not a field of physical things, but they cross over from this non-physical potential into our reality. And when we look at that, we are seeing quantum physics. I don't know how to explain what's in my mind, other than when you go into meditation, you find yourself, you find that there is more to you than you ever knew in this waking state of reality. Give me a minute here. Let's back up for a minute. Let's talk about what meditation is. You know, so many people have so many different ideas, and actually, you know, with our language, with English, meditation is kind of like it's a word that's encompassing a whole lot of different ideas. And when I talk about meditation, I'm talking about finding altered states. And I really kind of started that when I was about 8 years old. And then I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I knew I was doing something, and I enjoyed it. And later in life, I stumbled into self-hypnosis, and I liked that even more. I liked getting into those hypnagogic states, and it just felt real good, and I could accomplish things. I know most people would call like your willpower. You could do things with your willpower through these states and other things. You know, I'm telling you, you can manifest things. I mean, that sounds really stupid, but you put it out there and it eventually happens. And whether that's a good or a bad thing, you know, a lot of people don't realize that they're manifested really bad things, but that happens too. People should be aware of it. But it's real. I mean, it's not like hocus pocus, wave your wand and something appears on the table, but it's kind of close to that. It just unfolds over a period of time. So what are these states? You know, when I was doing self-hypnosis and stuff, it might take me 45 minutes to an hour, or maybe more, to get into a state, one of these that felt really good. But these days, it doesn't take nearly as long. It's just microseconds, really. I can just do it on demand now and get into a state of relaxation and ecstasy, really. So that's another thing that there are just all these levels of these states. The first one is just, being pleasantly relaxed. And then you get a little deeper and you might feel a little bit giddy inside, and all these different levels, all the way up into something, that's just euphoric, just complete bliss, and even further than that, you can get into states that are just kind of like orgasms, they're just there's nothing sexual, but the brain, is doing all that anyway, and you can cause those states to happen just by desiring them. So there's lots of different levels, and those levels I've just been speaking about, those are the ones that all the mystics and stuff say don't get stuck there, because that's just the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. You can go into these very, very deep, meaningful states where you encounter yourself and you encounter the knowledge of the universe. Really, how do you think all these people that develop all this stuff and make inventions and things, you think they're just sitting there calculating in their mind, and they build this out of the thoughts that they've had or something? But no, people get ideas out of this clear blue sky. They pop into your head. They manifest. You don't cause them to happen. You invite them to happen. When you're working on a problem and you can't come up with the solution, a lot of times, you'll hear, just go sleep on it and you'll get it by tomorrow. And sure enough, you go to bed, wake up the next day, and boom, it hits you. And that's the thing that you can do on demand. The only problem is that people don't believe you, and unless you're actually going to build something, what can you say, But the states are very beneficial because you find out in your everyday life, walking around, you know more about what is going on than most people do. I'm not saying I'm above anybody or anything like that. It's just you have a different understanding of the world and all this stuff where you see all these people getting mad and doing all these crazy things. It just really makes me giggle inside, when I see somebody mad. I go, if they only knew, what was going on really. If they only knew their self. If they only knew how it all was working. They'd laugh too. They go, I'm not saying I never get mad. It happens sometimes, and I catch myself, and I go, oh, that's silly. So there's that. And there's a lot of benefits. I could tell you a bunch of stories, and I probably will. When we open our eyes and we look around, we understand the world around us completely. We see everything. We can touch and feel and smell aromas. We can hear things. And that's less than 4% of what's really out there. So we don't really see everything. We don't smell everything. And you just take the visual. The amount of visible light in the spectrum of electromagnetism is tiny. There's this huge spectrum, but we can only see a tiny portion of it. And that goes with all of electromagnetism. Our senses are so terribly limited, but our brain fills in the gaps, and it convinces us that all of reality is what is coming into our eyes, coming into our senses. But that's just not the case. There's so much of reality that we don't interact with. Modern day science these days are calling it dark energy and dark matter. It just means, they don't know what it is, but it's something we can't interact with. If we just take that into consideration, when we're trying to decide what is woo and what is real, I think that'll help. So if we can't tell what reality is with our eyes and nose and ears, our touch, how do we decide what part of this stuff is real and what part is imaginary? And I would have to say that it's somewhere in between imaginary and real. We're really dreaming this all up. When you try to figure out what matter is, what mass is, you really run into a problem trying to figure that out. Because when you get right down to it, matter and mass is a vibration or excitation of a field of energy. In other words, all of this stuff we look around and interact with is energy. It's not physical stuff until we create it to be physical stuff. You know, the double slit experiment shows this, that when a measurement is taken or when an observation is made, a wave becomes a particle. Now, as strange as that is, it's what we know. It's the best we can understand at this point. And so with physical matter being an excited field of energy, just like Einstein had put it, that E equals mc squared, that energy and matter are basically the same thing. The difference is our thought. Our thought is what is the creator of all this. It's really hard to explain because I don't understand it, of course, myself. But I've got an inkling of what is happening. You experience some type of knowledge planes in these deep meditations. There's something there that's beyond our language, beyond our thought. And it is in our imagination. But our imagination is the creator. Nothing comes to be in this world unless you imagined it first. If you wanted to nail some boards together and build a structure, you're going to imagine what you're doing before you do it. We are a part of nature as nature is a part of God. It's all one thing. It's God wanting to understand himself, wanting to interact, and we are God's dream, as all of the stuff around us is our dream. So there seems to be a truth, an overriding truth to our reality. And it seems that through the ages, people have understood this truth. But to understand something is to put it in context to your experiences. So as these truths have been written down and passed through oral histories in the such like shamanism and Christian Bible and all these things that have been written down about this overriding truth, but they've all been shaped into the person or the religion or the tribe. They've all been shaped into the experiences that they could relate this to. And so it's been like a fragmented picture of things all around the earth. And it's as if there's been a puzzle piece on each continent. And only now that the continents are tied together with communication, that we can start putting those pieces together in a way that shows the picture. And the picture is basically that consciousness is fundamental. In other words, this this consciousness, like the Bible states, the Word, and we refer to that as God, that is the one thing that really truly is. And out of that consciousness, as Hindus say, God had a dream, and that is us. Out of that consciousness, everything in creation is that thing, that consciousness. When you trace back what matter and mass is, and it's just a vibration or a concentration, a condensation of a field of information, a field of energy. That field is the consciousness of God. It is the Creator itself, if you don't want to use God. Because, face it, that word has been, it's been the cause of many deaths. You know, people go to war over my God is better than your God, and whatever God is, and nobody wants to sit down and work out that part of it, but theirs is better, so it's a crazy world. But getting back to the one truth, now that we are, quantum physics and philosophy and all these ancient texts are coming together now, and we have particle physicists that are finding things outside of space and time. That's outside of our reality. That's a different dimension. And they're finding things in science now that are in another dimension. So we've all understood that there were other dimensions, but now we're starting to get something more substance I can't say it. We're getting more solid information about what a dimension is. And it's a really fascinating time to be alive. But I guess that goes true with any time that a person is alive. That lifetime is very precious, very important, because that's the time that person is. That doesn't make much sense, but what can I say?